Never break rule number 3 inside the abandoned asylum, or it will find you. Part 1. The Dare, the Asylum, and the Forbidden Rules. I should have listened to the old man. That thought clawed at my mind as I stood at the rusted, vine-entwined gates of Black Hollow Asylum, a decrepit, hulking skeleton of a building, rotting in the middle of the woods. The place had been abandoned for over 50 years, yet even now, it exuded a suffocating aura of grief and madness. My name's Evan Carter, and ever since I was a kid, I had a habit of poking my nose where it didn't belong. Haunted houses, dark basements, urban legends. I loved it, which was why, when my best friend Tyler dared me to join him and a few others to explore Black Hollow, I didn't hesitate. It was the holy grail of abandoned places in our town, known for its chilling history and the ghost stories surrounding it. We were 5 in total. Me, Tyler, his girlfriend Jenna, a horror junkie named Mason, and Lori, the skeptic of the group. The plan was simple: sneak in after midnight, record a few videos for Tyler's YouTube channel, and leave before dawn. Simple. At least that's what we thought. The warning: as we parked our cars along the overgrown trail, an old man appeared out of nowhere. He looked ancient, a frail figure hunched under a tattered coat, deep-set eyes glinting in the moonlight. "You kids best turn back," he croaked. His voice was like dry leaves scraping against pavement. This place, it remembers. It never forgets. And it don't forgive. Tyler laughed him off, pulling out his phone to record. But the old man reached into his coat and pressed a crumpled, yellowed slip of paper into my hand. His gnarled fingers clenched around mine. His voice low, urgent. "If you insist on going in, follow these rules. It's the only chance you've got. And for the love of God, never break Rule 3. And with that, he hobbled away, vanishing into the trees. Like smoke. The rules. We gathered around a flickering flashlight as I unfolded the fragile paper. The words were written in shaky, uneven script. The rules of Black Hollow Asylum. 1. Enter before 1 a.m. Leave before sunrise. Never stay past dawn. 2. If you hear someone calling your name, don't answer. 3. Never open any door marked with the number 13. 4. If you see a woman in a hospital gown, don't speak to her. Don't look at her. 5. If you hear the lullaby, run and hide immediately. 6. Do not split up for any reason. 7. Should you find an old patient file with your name on it, burn it. 8. If a mirror shows you moving differently than you are, smash it. 9. Leave an offering at the entrance before you go. Anything you value. We all exchanged uneasy glances. Tyler snorted. Urban legend BS. But hey, makes for good footage. I wasn't so sure. Crossing the threshold at exactly 12:45 a.m., we pried open the front doors. The air was thick with the scent of mildew and decay. The main lobby was a cavernous, crumbling space with shattered windows and overturned gurneys. A cracked portrait of Dr. Kenneth Blackwood, the Asylum's founder, hung crookedly on the far wall, his stern eyes following us. Tyler led the way, camera in hand, while Mason documented everything with his flashlight. Lori stuck close to Jenna, both pretending to be brave. I kept my gaze flickering between the dark hallways and the paper in my pocket. We started moving down the first corridor, a long, oppressive hallway where the light from our flashlights seemed to be swallowed by the darkness. The silence was suffocating, broken only by the crunch of debris underfoot and the occasional distant creak of old wood. Halfway down, I thought I heard my name. Ivan. It was faint, like a whisper carried by the wind. I spun around, heart pounding. Did you guys hear that? Cut it out, man. Mason chuckled nervously. You're already jumpy. I didn't answer, because I could have sworn it was my mother's voice. But she'd been dead for 2 years. The forbidden door. We pressed on, passing graffiti-covered walls and rooms filled with broken beds, rusted restraints, and decayed medical charts. Every shadow seemed alive. Then we came to it. Room 13. A faded brass number hung loosely on a door at the end of a side hall. The wood was dark, splintered, and smeared with old, brown stains. I stopped. Rule 3, I muttered. What? Tyler asked. I pointed. The rules were not supposed to open that. Tyler scoffed. Come on, dude. It's just a room. Perfect for a scare video. Against every instinct, against the cold knot in my gut, I watched him reach for the handle. Don't, I hissed, but curiosity got the better of me. And that's when I broke Rule 3, Part 2. Behind the door and the first omen. Tyler's hand gripped the corroded doorknob of room 13, and for a second, the world felt like it stopped breathing. Don't open it. My voice cracked, barely a whisper. The others stood frozen behind me, Mason's flashlight trembling in his grip, Lori clutching Jenna's arm so tightly her knuckles turned white. Every instinct in me screamed to turn back, to leave, to never even glance at what lay behind that door. But Tyler, he grinned. Dude, relax. It's for the channel. What's the worst that could happen? The door opened with a long, wheezing groan. Inside room 13, the room was unnaturally cold. A single rusted gurney sat in the center, leather restraints cracked with age. The walls were lined with decayed, padded material, some of it slashed open like claw marks. In the far corner, an ancient IV pole stood, its bag still half full with a dark, congealed substance. Then there was the mirror. It hung crookedly on the wall, its glass warped and clouded. Yet it reflected the room perfectly, except for one horrifying detail. In the reflection, there was a figure lying strapped to the gurney. A figure that wasn't there in the room. "What the hell?" Mason breathed, lifting his camera. The figure in the mirror twitched. Its face was turned away, but its body writhed, as if waking from a nightmare. A low, guttural groan filled the air, coming from nowhere and everywhere at once. "Close the damn door!" I shouted, but it was too late. The figure in the mirror turned its head, and it was me, pale, hollow-eyed, mouth stretched in a silent scream. Tyler stumbled back, slamming the door shut. The groan faded instantly, but the damage was done. The lullaby. "Okay, we're done. We're leaving now," I snapped. Tyler's face had drained of color. Mason looked like he might puke. As we hurried down the hallway, a soft, lilting tune began to drift through the corridors, faint, like it came from an old music box. A child's lullaby. "Ring around the rosy," Jenna gasped. "What is that?" Lori clutched my arm. "Rule 5. If you hear the lullaby, run and hide." "Go," I yelled. We sprinted down the nearest hallway, darting into a half-collapsed wardroom. The door barely stayed on its hinges, and Mason jammed a chair against it. The lullaby grew louder. A shadow passed by the doorway, its silhouette long, impossibly thin, dragging what looked like a tattered sheet behind it. The singing distorted, higher, then lower, like a broken record. We held our breath as it stopped outside. Silence, then a whisper, "Yvonne." I beat down hard on my tongue to stop myself from responding. The whispering woman. After what felt like forever, the figure moved on. We didn't dare move for several minutes. When the lullaby faded completely, Mason finally broke the silence. "Okay, we need to get the hell out of here, now." But Lori was gone. The chair at the door was pushed aside, and there was no sign of her. "Where the hell did she go?" Jenna whispered, her face pale as bone. She wouldn't, not alone. Then we heard it, a soft, rattling breathing coming from the next room. I peeked through a broken window. There she was, standing perfectly still in front of an ancient mirror. But her reflection wasn't copying her movements. It was smiling. Then it lifted a hand, not Lori's, and pointed directly at me. My stomach dropped. Rule 8. If a mirror shows you moving differently than you are, smash it. "Mason, give me something," I barked. He grabbed a rusted bedpan and hurled it through the window. The mirror shattered, and the reflection vanished in a wisp of black smoke. Lori collapsed to her knees, sobbing. It was inside my head. It was talking to me, telling me to stay. A new mark. But when she lifted her sleeve, my blood ran cold. There were deep, fresh scratch marks on her forearm, spelling a single word in jagged letters. "Stay." We had broken another rule. And the asylum wasn't going to let us go easily. Part 3. Rule number 6 is broken. And the door without a handle. We didn't stop running until the lullaby was just a fading echo behind us. The air hung thick and heavy with mildew, and every step we took stirred up dust from the floor, like the building itself was breathing. Lori stumbled, still shaken, her arm bleeding from those jagged letters. "Stay. We can't stay here," she sobbed. "We won't," I said, though I wasn't sure I believed it. We reached a fork in the corridor. Left led to the asylum's ancient chapel. Right, deeper into the administrative wing. The map Tyler had downloaded showed the nearest exit on the other side of the chapel. Through the chapel. Come on. The door without a handle? At the end of the corridor stood a heavy ironclad door. Its surface was rusted and mottled, but the disturbing thing was that it had no handle on our side. Just a small, rustic plaque that read, "Those who seek shall find." Mason hesitated. "I don't like this. What if it locks behind us?" "Rule 6, Evan," Tyler reminded me, his voice tight. "Never enter a room you can't open from both sides." And we were about to break it. "Do we have a choice?" Jenna whispered. Behind us, the sound of something dragging itself along the floor grew louder. "Okay, through here. Now." Tyler shoved against the door, and it creaked open just enough for us to slip inside, one by one. The room beyond was pitch black. Inside the chapel, the door shut behind us with a heavy metallic clang. No handle. No way back. "God damn it!" Mason swore. I flicked my flashlight around. It was the asylum's chapel, all right. Rows of decayed wooden pews, many broken or overturned. Dust danced in the beam of light. Stained glass windows lined the walls, their colors long faded and cracked. At the far end stood an altar, still draped in a rotten white cloth, and someone was kneeling in front of it. A figure dressed in a moth-eaten hospital gown, face buried in their hands, whispering, low and frantic. "Who the hell?" Jenna began. "Rule 9, never speak to the kneeling figure. Don't even acknowledge it. Don't look at it," I hissed. "Eyes down. Move fast. Head for the door on the left." We edged along the left wall, careful not to look at the altar. But the figure's whispers followed us, like words slipping under our skin. "Join me. Stay. Never leave." The temperature dropped. The air smelled of decay and old wax. Tyler's light wavered as he passed a broken pew, and a pale, thin hand shot out, grabbing his ankle. He screamed, "Help me! It's got me!" Breaking another rule. Mason reacted fast, yanking Tyler free. But it was too late. The figure had turned. A grotesque, bloated face, eyes solid black, mouth stretched impossibly wide. It let out a soundless shriek, and then the room began to shift. The walls bled dark liquid. The stained glass windows melted like wax. The floor cracked beneath our feet. "Run!" I shouted. We sprinted toward the side exit. a narrow wooden door, half rotted through. Mason kicked it open, and we tumbled into a hallway slick with moisture, the air heavy with mold and something metallic. Tyler limped, a raw, blackened handprint seared into his ankle. I didn't mean to. It grabbed me," he stammered. "It's not your fault, man. But we need to get out. Now." The hidden morgue. Ahead of us, a rusty sign pointed downstairs. Morgue storage. "This way. Only way out now," Mason said. We took the stairs 2 at a time, the creaking wood barely holding under our weight. The descent felt endless, deeper than any basement had a right to go. The air down there was ice cold. Metal drawers lined the walls, some still labeled with yellowed name tags. The smell was indescribable, a mix of rotting meat, chemicals, and something far worse. And something was down there, waiting. The body bag. A lone body bag lay on a gurney in the center of the room, bulging, moving. Jenna let out a choked sob. No, please no." Rule 7. If you find an unmarked body bag moving, leave it alone. Never unzip it. Tyler took a step toward it. "Dude, leave it!" I grabbed his arm, but the bag shifted again, violently this time. A handprint pressed against the canvas from inside. "Help me, please," a voice wheezed. Female. Lori's eyes filled with tears. What if it's one of us? What if it's someone alive? I didn't care anymore. We can't risk it. We follow the rules or we're dead. Tyler's face twisted. I'm sorry. And we left it. The voice inside wailed, a sound that followed us long after we slammed the morgue door shut. Part 4. The Forbidden Files and the Blood-Stained Nursery. We left the echo of that pitiful scream in the body bag behind us and sprinted down the damp hallway of the asylum's basement. The cold from the stone walls bit into our bones, and the metallic, musty air was thick enough to choke on. "Just find the exit. Just find the exit," Jenna kept whispering, almost like a desperate prayer. But deep down we knew. Nothing in this place led straight to an exit. The room of forbidden files at the end of the hallway. We reached a heavy wooden door with a rusted brass plaque. Records, staff only. According to Tyler's map, this was the old records room, and at the far end, a stairwell that led back up to the ground floor. "Let's go. This is our shot," Mason urged. We pushed the door open, and a wave of cold, stagnant air hit us. Inside, towering shelves of decaying patient files lined the walls. Dust swirled in the flashlight beams, and the room smelled of rotting paper and burnt. In the center of the room sat a decayed wooden desk. On it, a stack of ancient files, bound in what looked horrifyingly like dried human skin. Scrawled across the cover in faded blood: "Do not open after dark." Rule 8. Never read patient files in the records room after midnight. I checked my watch. 12:07 a.m. Jenna stared at the file, face pale as death. What happens if someone reads it? No one's reading it. Not now. Move. We carefully made our way between the sagging file cabinets, trying not to disturb anything. But at the far end of the room, one drawer slid open by itself. A single yellowed folder fell to the floor. Written in bold ink on the first page, Evan Carter, deceased. It was my name. A glimpse of the past. No, 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 no! I stumbled back. Tyler grabbed my arm. Don't look at it, man. You know the rule. But I'd already seen it. In a flash, reality blurred. I was lying on an operating table under blinding lights. Masked figures in stitched leather aprons surrounded me, peeling my skin away piece by piece, and I was fully conscious. I screamed, but no sound came. Then it was gone. I gagged, my throat burning. We have to go, right now. A blood-stained nursery. We burst through a side door, into a narrow corridor, and straight into another room. The faded sign above read, Nursery, Ward C. Rule 5, never enter the nursery after midnight. We don't have a choice. It's the only way out. Mason gritted his teeth. We pushed through. Inside was a decayed nursery, thick with dust and mold. Rows of rusted cribs lined the walls. Some gently swayed, though there was no wind. On the walls, crude, childlike drawings in dried, brownish streaks. Blood. In the far corner, a large, ancient crib stood. Something small huddled inside, barely moving. Mommy? A tiny, brittle voice called out. Rule 4. Never respond to a voice saying mommy in the nursery. Jenna clamped a hand over her mouth, tears streaming. Footsteps. The dragging, wet footsteps of something massive heading toward us. Door! Other side! Move! We ran, skirting the broken toys and overturned furniture. But as we passed the crib, the thing inside lifted its head. It had no eyes. A pale, melted face like wax in the heat, and a mouth that stretched impossibly wide. It smiled. Stay with me forever. The hidden passage. We crashed through the door at the far end into a narrow stone tunnel. The air here was colder, wetter, and the darkness clung to our skin like oil. It's coming. Run! The dragging footsteps followed. Jenna stumbled and fell. Mason turned to pull her up, and a pale, skeletal hand shot out from a crack in the wall, wrapping around Mason's ankle. No. Rule 9. If something grabs you, don't fight. Bite your tongue to pass out before it drags you in. Bite it, Mason. Do it, I screamed. His face contorted with terror. And then he did. A sickening crunch, and Mason collapsed. The hand yanked his limp body into the wall, disappearing into the darkness, leaving behind a dark smear of blood. Come on! Tyler dragged me forward. We bolted through the narrowing tunnel, the faintest glimmer of light visible in the distance. Almost there. Almost there. I whispered, but the wet footsteps were still chasing us, and I knew there were still rules left we hadn't even faced yet. Part 5. The final rule, and the thing behind the door. The tunnel stretched on, a tight, suffocating artery of damp stone and stale air. The faint glimmer of light ahead was our only hope. Tyler's grip on my arm was iron tight. Jenna sobbed silently as she limped beside us. Behind us, those wet, dragging footsteps. Closer now. And something else. A low, inhuman growl echoing off the walls, growing louder. We're almost out. Keep going, Tyler rasped. The room of no return. We burst into a small chamber at the tunnel's end. 3 doors. All identical. All rotted, their surfaces covered in scratch marks and deep gouges. Above them, a faded sign read, "Exit. Choose wisely." Tyler's face went pale. This is it. The room Mason told me about. The final rule. I swallowed hard. Rule 10. Never open the middle door, no matter what. Which one? Jenna's voice cracked. Left. Always left, Tyler said, his voice trembling. But before we could move, "Guys, it's me. It's safe. This one leads out. Hurry! Please, help me!" Jenna froze, tears in her eyes. "It's Mason. He's alive. We can't leave him." I grabbed her shoulder. "It's not him, Jen. You know it isn't." The doorknob rattled. Then came the scratching. Something, dozens of long, skeletal fingers clawing at the wood from the other side. Tyler pointed to the left door. "Move! Now!" The final escape. We yanked the left door open. A narrow stairwell spiraled upward. Gin light flickering at the top. Tyler went first, then Jenna. I took one last glance back. The middle door was slowly cracking open, inch by inch, and in the darkness beyond, 2 massive, lidless eyes stared directly at me. A voice like gravel and broken glass rasped, "I'll find you, Evan Carter." To Stairwell of Shadows. I bolted up the stairs, the walls seeming to close in with every step. The thing's breath was on my neck, cold and wet. At the top, a heavy iron hatch. Tyler pushed with all his strength. It wouldn't budge. "Help me!" Jenna and I shoved against it. It groaned, then finally gave way. Blinding moonlight pouring down. We scrambled out into the overgrown Asylum courtyard, slick with mist and ash-gray fog. The final rule. As we crossed the courtyard toward the front gates, my phone buzzed. A new message from an unknown number. Rule 11. Once you leave, never speak of what you saw, or it will come for you at 3:33 a.m. I showed it to Tyler. He swallowed, face pale as a corpse. Delete it. Forget this place. Forget everything. We reached the rusted front gates, pushed them open, and stepped into the cold night. Epilogue 3:33 a.m. I'm back home now. It's been a week. But every night, I wake at exactly 3:33 a.m. A scraping sound at my window. And this morning, another message. We warned you. I didn't delete it. And now, it's too late. If you made it out of this asylum alive, smash that like button. Subscribe for more terrifying rule horror stories. And drop a comment with the scariest place you've ever dared to explore. And remember, never ignore the rules.